broadband, rural broadband, broadband generally is a necessity now. It's not a nicety, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And this pandemic that we're experiencing really places a spotlight on that fact and highlights that fact that it is currently a necessity. And I think it's important to note that it is the rural areas that are struggling the most with this, and we as a state need to make sure that everyone in the state, all children, all citizens deserve to have access to high-speed internet services. The metro area can't hope to be an island of prosperity in a sea of economic decline. We all sink or swim together. The best example of that, Senator Westrom already referred to, was the electrification of rural Minnesota and rural America, and how important that was and how that transformed the lives of people in that generation. Senator Westrom talked about his grandparents telling him stories, and I had my father tell a story about when electricity first came to their farm. And he actually wrote it down. It was, and I mentioned him last week in another speech that I gave, that he was suffering from dementia, and he started writing down his memories because he wanted to hang on to them longer, and he also wanted to pass them along to us. And one of those memories was when electricity came to the farm, and he said that out in the barn they used to use lanterns, and they gave off a dim light, so he said your eyes had to kind of adjust to the darkness, just kind of like a cat in the dark, but your eyes would adjust. But then he said electricity came, and the barn was filled with light bulbs all over the barn, and it was just bright. And he said that at the end of chores, shortly after they put the new lights in, that he was waiting for his dad after he had finished his chores, because they would always meet at the door, and then they would walk back to the house together with that lantern. Only this time his dad walked past him and started walking towards the post where the lantern used to hang, and he knew that because of force of habit he was probably going to get the lantern. And sure enough, when he got to the post, he reached up to grab the lantern, but it wasn't there. And Dad said he broke out laughing because it looked so funny, and his dad got this sheepish grin on his face and walked over to the door, and they shut off the lights, and he wrote that they walked back to the house together under the brightness of the light from the bulb on the pole in the middle of the yard. That moment really made an impression on him, and it transformed the quality of life in rural Minnesota. Broadband has the same capacity to do that in rural Minnesota as well. And just like Senator Westrom said, you can't even imagine not having electricity today anywhere in the country. We need to get to that point with broadband. And as I said, we now know that it is a necessity, that our whole state needs it, that our whole country needs it in order for our whole country to thrive and to prosper. So again, I urge support for this bill. I think we need to do even more yet. The previous generation, the ones that accomplished rural electrification, they understood the importance of investing in their future. Even during the worst economic crisis in our country's history, we still invested in our future. We need to do that with broadband, so I urge your support. Thank you.